I'm not the only one that's noticed that the gaming market is kind of a dumpster fire lately. I can't remember the last time that I saw any really good news about modern gaming. Between skyrocketing hardware requirements, ridiculously poor optimization and insane PC part pricing, it's easy to feel like you need to sell your kidneys just to enjoy gaming in 2026. I want to prove that you don't need to buy new hardware or chase the latest games to still have a good time. My Steam account is over a decade old and I can spend the rest of my life just playing my back catalogue and never get bored. Me and my modest PC will do just fine without the modern AAA market, thank you very much. So I decided to embrace being a nerd with certified UNC status the only way I know how, by getting a spreadsheet involved. I'm going to roll credits on as many games as I can for the next year and track my progress. The way I'm going to beat the hardware wars is by proving that my back catalogue is just as, if not more fun than anything that the modern gaming market can spit out in 2026. I'm using the spreadsheet to track my progress on all the games I play in the next year, how much time I spent playing, when the game was originally released, my personal rating for each one, all that juicy data. I want to look back on the year come 2027 and see how my habits changed throughout the journey. My goal is to prove that you don't need to constantly spend thousands on expensive up-to-date hardware to enjoy gaming in 2026. While we're panicking over UE5 and ray tracing crumbling our hardware into dust, most of the greatest games ever made can run on a potato. So without further ado, let me catch you up on my 2026 gaming experiment. I consider my PC a fairly modest setup, especially in the current year. The system runs on an AMD Ryzen 5 5600X and an Nvidia 3070 with 16GB of RAM. It was powerful in its heyday, but in 2026 the 3070's 8GB VRAM is feeling a little restrictive. Same too for that 16GB of RAM. Thanks to Ramageddon, it's actually proving to be a bit of a sore spot, which is what inspired this video. I felt I had to prove to myself, as well as others, that I can still have a great time in gaming despite all of the hardware wars. I started this experiment of playing through my library all the way back in January, but since we're now in March I've already been through a fair few games. I've decided then I'm going to go month by month in a video diary format, beginning with January, and hopefully if I'm quick with making videos I can catch up to myself fairly quickly. For each game I'm collecting the following data, including the developer, genre, how long it took me to roll credits, the size of the game, the age of the game, and a personal rating of the game out of 10. I'm adding each game to the list with its data and a brief note as and when I beat each one. I'll also put a general observation of the frames per second each game can achieve as well. Let me clarify one thing before we begin. I will not be professionally reviewing the games. My personal rating is just to capture how each game made me feel, not a measure of the actual quality of the game. Of course, if you do disagree with my ratings, that's totally understandable and I'd love to read your thoughts on the games I play, so do add a comment. I'd love to hear more thoughts and ideas for my spreadsheet after all. With that out of the way, let me show you the games that I played in January 2026. I started out my spreadsheet by returning to Subnautica, a beloved game I've already played for over 300 hours. This game is one of the best exploration sandboxes I've ever experienced. The underwater world of 4546b is equally relaxing and terrifying, filled with bioluminescent creatures as beautiful as they are horrifying. The graphics hold up fantastically well, especially with the game running flawlessly at over 120 FPS with settings maxed out. The gameplay is a simple yet addictive main loop of dive deeper, get better tech, use the better tech to dive even deeper. It doesn't take up much hard drive space, it's just 7GB. I beat this game at the end of January with about 11 hours total, but other gamers should absolutely take their time to appreciate this one. I would say it would take you about 20 on a good playthrough. A big draw to this game that'll keep me coming back is the base building. You can really get a lot of mileage out of this game by taking the time to get creative and make fantastical sci-fi underwater habitats. You can come up with some incredible base layouts. Subnautica brings me so much joy and does so every time I boot it up. It offers a lot of bang for your buck and the graphics look great while respecting your PC hardware requirements. It was a wonderful start to the challenge to revisit a game I loved. It made me feel excited for the challenge. I was looking forward to getting to revisit some classics that made me smile, as well as to create space for other games to flood me with memories that I can look back on later. All that said, Subnautica for me is absolutely a 9 out of 10. Halo Reach was very much a full-on AAA bonanza when it released back in 2010 on the Xbox 360. It was the final Halo title to be made by Bungie, and the production value still holds up well today. The campaign itself is an adrenaline rush, and I could play it 100 times and not get bored. Without spoiling a 16-year-old game, the ending is one of the most intense emotional moments you can experience in gaming as a whole. It still clicks with many gamers, including myself, to this day. If you know, you know. I had a great time with Halo Reach. I played on heroic difficulty, which made it a nice challenge without being overwhelming. Some of the hunter sections really messed me up. They did get a huge buff in this game. I love using the DMR and plasma pistol combo. It brings to mind the old days of being hopped up on Mountain Dew and Doritos, gaming into the early hours of the night. The campaign was just long enough that I still felt excited after playing at 5 hours, but if you're new to Halo, this game will take you a lot longer. I was just pretty quick as I know this game fairly well. Overall, Halo Reach is just an exceptional action game with great gunplay, awesome enemies that are fun to shoot, and a high level of customizable difficulties and replay value, especially with Firefight being an amazingly fun distraction if you just want to jump in and blow up some Covenant. The performance on PC is astonishing for modern day. As you can see, I was over 200 FPS throughout. I was often hitting 400 plus at times. Incredible performance, and while it is dated in places, the graphics do hold up thanks to Bungie's uncanny design abilities. How they got this to run on an Xbox 360 is a mystery. The Master Chief Collection itself is a fairly huge chunk of hard drive space if you install every game, but considering you get 5 of some of the greatest first-person shooters ever made, and Halo 4 is there too I guess, it's worth setting aside the space. Halo Reach itself is not the worst offender by a long shot. 10GB is pretty economical, I would say. The campaign took me about 5 hours to beat, but with Firefight and arcade score attack modes available, this game could easily last you hundreds of hours. Halo Reach is comfortably an 8 out of 10. While Subnautica and Halo Reach are games that I played before, I'm happy that I chose these to start my challenge. Choosing familiar but beloved titles gave me the initial momentum that I'm going to need to get through the early stages of the experiment. In the future I intend to play more games from my backlog that I haven't tried yet, but for the start of the experiment I wanted to guarantee a good optimistic start by playing titles with the nostalgia factor. Now, on to some stats. My current average on the enjoyment had stands at 8.5 out of 10. My 2 January games took up 16 hours of gameplay and 17GB of disk space. Both games came up to about an average of 12 years old. The point of this experiment is to examine whether I can have a great time gaming on titles that I already own and ones that run well on modest hardware without feeling like I have to give in to hardware anxiety and upgrade my PC. The modern gaming market is designed to make you feel like you have to spend £70 a pop on new ray-traced behemoth titles and then spend thousands on the hardware to run those games in the best light. My challenge is there to say, well, no. I have a library full of some of the greatest games ever made, and even my modest PC can absolutely steamroll these games, no upgrade required. My biggest takeaway so far is that nostalgia is a big factor in my enjoyment. These 2 games do mean a lot to me, so I'm undeniably biased. However, I also ask, does that actually matter? This experiment has been about analysing how I personally am enjoying my own gaming, and even though I am biased, if I am unironically enjoying myself, that's actually the point I'm trying to prove. The takeaway then is this: nostalgia is a huge factor in enjoying games, but more importantly, most of the titles that we're nostalgic for are now old enough that we can run them on practically any tier of hardware. Therefore, nostalgia can actually be an effective tool in combating the modern hardware woes. You know you're going to have a great time with an older game, so ask yourself, why do I need to buy that new AAA release and deal with the often terrible performance issues that come with that, when there's an older game that I already love and it just feels so much better to play? The conclusion to this video then is that nostalgia is something to be used to your advantage. By playing the games you already love, even modest hardware gets the chance to shine, and as long as our old beloved games are still there, gaming's magic will never truly be lost. Thanks for watching. This was my first video of this kind of scope, so I hope I did it justice. Hopefully my experiment encourages you to look into your own gaming habits and track things a little more mindfully, and maybe ease some of your anxieties about the hardware issues we're all facing right now. I'm going to be continuing on this experiment all year round, rolling credits on as many games as I can for the next year, so do check back regularly to see my progress and the interesting data I build up over time. Please consider doing all the YouTube things and subscribing if you enjoyed to follow along with my mindful gaming experiment. I'll be posting as regularly as I can, particularly as quickly as I can in the next few weeks as I'm trying to catch back up to present day. But until next time, stay safe, play old games, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.